I'm learning to use the EPS foam and block from George about 10 years ago, and I really liked the way that he was able to create any curve that he wanted and any outline he wanted. He had so much flexibility with what he could create because it was coming from a square block of foam, so he had no limits. With the hot wiring process, making the template is part of the process. So you spend so much time working the rocker, checking the rocker, making the wooden template for the rocker, so you can really focus on that rocker and the deck rocker being perfect. Put it on the block and recut it again, and you can replicate that over and over. If you get a really nice curve, you can continue to make it over and over, so that when you're hand shaping, you can become very familiar with your own blank and your own rocker. Yeah, it's very analog, no computers or anything, but it helps my brain understand surfboard building. So yeah, I love the process, and I'm thankful to George for showing me. This model was basically my first attempt seeing George's designs, and then my shaping and my surfing sort of coming together. I wasn't coming from his background, I had to bring my background into it, and so I changed a few things, a little more soft and passive. George's are quite aggressive, so I scaled down the edges. I added a little more rocker through the tail. I used the similar contours, sort of a single concave into double concave and V behind the fins, which is very similar to George's bottom design, but I sort of just put my surfing and my shaping into the first model, and it was the first attempt. With the first model, usually I'm using the Power Glide or the Power Blade. This particular fin has a torsional deflection component. It bends into the flow of the water, and I think that creates a more intuitive feeling. It's more how like a plane would turn in the sky. It's not turning like that. It's sort of banking like a snowboard or a plane through the air. Greeno high speed. Sometimes I'm riding this one, the 8.9 inch. So I'd ride this in, some sort of junkie surf or onshore conditions. And then if it's a point break or river mouth, I'd probably opt for the Power Glide 45. Yeah, both this triplane glide model and the hybrid hull, I always had a fascination with Australian surfing in the late 60s, early 70s, when it was sort of a transitional era, and it was coming down from longboards and boards were getting shorter and more radical. Basically, like the edge is the engine room at the back, and then the front is that sort of classic feeling of convex and roll in a sort of very transitional V-bottom era kind of shape. Trying to blend the old with the really new and putting it together. Like some of those classic V-bottoms, also had these new feelings of like a lot of squirt and projection as you go through a turn. When that water does release, your wetted surface is really reduced, so the board does want to just keep travelling. And then the TPG's really similar in design and inspiration, sort of a more speed shape, mid-length. Again, taking like a lot of reference of George with his elliptical outlines. This one features the edge all the way to the nose, but it's sort of got a sight V throughout the whole thing and a little bit of double concave here. Like a bonus element of the edge boards is that they're basically a 2-in-1 surfboard. When it's paddling and you're at low speed, it's quite wide, feels quite safe and stable. And when you're up and riding, you're really surfing on this center plane and can feel so nimble and easy to turn. And that's why I think they feel so good in Japan. The waves don't have power all the time. So you need a wide board, lots of buoyancy to paddle in. And then when you're up, you want a smaller board so you can move around and really, you know, make those tighter turns or find those little energy lines. So the light kite was an evolution, again, from the Edge design. And I found the Edge boards great with single fins, but as soon as I added twin fins or a thruster or a quad, the dominant fins started to fight the heavy edge at the front. So the kite has sort of been a journey on scaling the edge down and basically adding more fins and creating a lot more thrust from the back end. I really liked the feeling once I got it in the water of that rail line being higher in the nose and it having basically a control surface to run along and then spin through your fins. And I really felt that dropping in. You could really set the line and set your bottom turn here, and the water naturally just wanted to sort of flow and spin through the board. Another thing that just naturally happened, originally it was a rounded nose, but coming through the plane, it kept cutting off and getting too thin. And one day I did it, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I actually like that. And it sort of suited the design where all the lines and all the vectors came together. So yeah, it wasn't a conscious decision to make a diamond nose. It sort of was just naturally how the tool wanted to cut the shape, so I just let it. I was working in a factory a long time ago. Dave Parks, his name is, and he was a kneeboarder. And he always had these wide sort of fishtail, and I'd always just like seen the outline and thought they were so organic looking and performance orientated, but they weren't like a fin I'd ever seen before. So I grabbed a set, and when I tried them as a quad in the light kite, they just felt like it was a perfect match. Something with great acceleration and looked organic, and that worked with all the stuff going on at the front. Just good timing again, you know, little references of, oh, I remember those fins from the wide tail fish kneeboards, and then doing a light kite with a wide tail. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use those fins. This is a new prototype light kite, 7.2 by 22. Alex Nost was coming to my house and we were shaping some boards together, and he's really into Twinser design at the moment, and I saw him ripping on his one, so I was interested by the idea. Still early days, and we're still sort of working out fin placement and towing these canards a little more, but that's all part of working together with a shaper or a shop like yourself. I think with this one, the fins are pretty close. We're going to tow these a little more. I've got a little spiral V out the back here, and then pretty much flat off the tail, but really think it needs that V instead of a single concave. It needs a little V for the fins just to sort of let it rock over onto each fin. We went down, took this design to Miyazaki, and it was really, really small, but perfect. Put those boards in the super tiny waves, and the whole board's basically immersed in the water, so you feel every component, and you're going pretty low speeds. So you really got to be delicate on your feet, and you really start to notice what might cause drag or might, pick up, like a high pressure might pick up and pull the board around. So waves are so different here to Australia, so it's riding those little waves in Miyazaki is such a good reference point for my shaping when I go back to Australia. It's so nice to have someone like Koji or this shop to work with that just sort of let me be free with my direction and where I want to go and let that happen. So yeah, I look forward to the future of this design, and I'm going to make myself one at home, probably surf it over the next few months, and we'll see where it goes. 5.3 version. It's like a wide fish design, twinser, but just an evolution, just always prototyping, always wanting to push things, and like, look at this thing, look at the nugget. All the foam back here, I sort of really brought the foil right back, and it's so thick there, maybe 2 inches. That gave so much squirt when you push down, the board just wants to take off, like you said, like a bar of soap, just project through the water. So I definitely keep that. I'd probably, just evolution, just probably move the wide point a little bit forward, but I felt the fin placement was pretty good. This thing is a nugget. I'm going home with so much inspiration, and all I want to do right now is get back in the shaping bay and get those ideas out. And I don't have any direction of where I want it to go, but I know as soon as I get in the shaping bay, eating some good food and surfing, I don't know, something good's going to come out of it, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.